Hey guys, it's Bart Johnson here, and today I am in World's Fair Park in Knoxville, Tennessee. You can see the big golden ball in the background over there. Unfortunately, it's not the nicest of days out here right now. It's a little cloudy, a little chilly. It was supposed to be sunny today, but I wanted to get out and shoot anyway because this is one of my only days that I have to do so. So obviously, I'm not at home in Washington, D.C. I am on the road traveling for work. And I figured this would be the best opportunity to do a review for you guys of a portable jib I've been trying out that is perfect for travel. So I've got it right here. The whole jib fits in this little case. It is from a company called IMORDEN, and it is their 6.5-foot carbon fiber jib. So I'm gonna get this set up and show you guys how it works and let you know what I think about it. So like I said, guys, this is the 6.5-foot carbon fiber jib from IMORDEN, and it is a great little jib for travel. It's extremely lightweight. All of it fits in this little case right here. Now, I do already own a jib. I own a Kessler Crane KC 8-foot crane, but that is a much larger crane, and obviously I couldn't easily travel with that. This I was able to fit into my suitcase, bring it with me on this trip, carry it out here to the park, and I'm gonna get it set up for you guys and let you see how much is actually crammed into this little case right here. Okay, so here we go, guys. This right here is the case that the jib comes in. Let's go ahead and open it up. It's a nice little ballistic nylon case. Not waterproof or anything like that, but definitely padded and strong enough I'm not worried about it ripping or letting everything get damaged if I get some light rain out here today. So we'll open it up. Its zipper's open. And right here you can see the main body section of the jib. It fits in there extremely compact, and there's actually one specific way that you can fold this that it fits in there. So you need to have it in this configuration, otherwise you'll have a hard time fitting it in. But this is the whole body arm of the jib itself right there. Then in here there are several pockets at the bottom. Looks like one has come out, but they carry these 1 kilogram weights. So these are what you're going to use as your counterbalance. So you've got 1, 2, and if I can get it open here, and 3 of these weights. One thing I like about this case is that the pockets for the weights, obviously they have Velcro that holds them down there in the bottom, and that means these aren't going to be sliding around inside your case and aren't going to be marking up the carbon fiber of your jib and keeping it looking very nice. So there's the weights. Then we have in this pocket here, let me slide it to the side here so you can see, there's another pocket that you unzip here, and this is actually your weight bar. So it's carbon fiber at one end, and it's got metal and some nuts down at the other end, and this is going to attach to the back of the main section, and this is going to allow us to add our counterbalance weight. So let me go ahead and set that down there. Now we have even more pockets in here, right here on the side. This is nice. They send a small quick release plate for use with your camera. Now, this jib has a weight limit of 4 kilograms, which is fairly light. So this is going to be for smaller, more portable cameras, not big rigs. Even my 5D Mark III was a little bit over the weight for this, and I couldn't operate it comfortably. So today I'm going to be working with the Sony a7S II. It's a very popular camera right now. It's very lightweight, and I think it's going to work fantastic on this jib. And it fits in my backpack, so it's much easier for travel. So this whole system is great to travel with. But you get your adapter plate right there, quick release plate. And they actually give you some hardware and a bowl adapter. This is a 75mm or 100mm bowl adapter. So if you have a small tripod head that has a bowl mount, you can actually use this to mount to the end of the jib. Now I'm not going to be using that today because I don't have any bowl mount tripod heads that are light enough to go on here. You're going to need something very small to keep the weight down. But it's nice that they give you this option. It's nice that they put this in here. This is some moving towards pro level stuff, so that your camera can move on a tripod head at the end. And then that's it that we have in the case. So let's get this case out of here and let's get putting this together. Okay, so obviously the jib did not come with its own tripod legs. So the first thing you're gonna need is you're gonna need a set of tripod legs and preferably a fluid head as well. Now, this is very important. You're gonna wanna make sure that you have some fairly heavy duty tripod legs and a heavy duty tripod head, something preferably that's rated for video. The reason is this entire system has to be able to support the weight of not only the jib itself, which is fairly lightweight, but also however much counterbalance you put on there and the weight of your camera. So when it comes down to it, you could have, you know, upwards of 10, 15 pounds sitting on top of this. So you need to make sure that your tripod head is capable of handling that and is also sturdy. Sturdy means it's going to be much easier to move your shot without any wiggle or movement. And you want to make sure obviously that your legs are very sturdy and can also support that kind of weight. Today I'm going a bit overkill because I'm used to working with larger camera systems. I have my Carbon Fiber Enduro tripod legs here. These things are incredibly strong. And I have a Manfrotto 502 tripod head. I believe it's rated to about 10 or 13 pounds, so I'll be all right with this one. One other thing to keep in mind when you are choosing a tripod head is the jib itself does not have any sort of panning bearing at the base of it, meaning whatever you attach it to, it fixes on straight. So it can go and travel up and down, and I'll show you this a little bit later. It can travel up and down, no problem. But if you want to be able to pan the jib and swing it around, all of that is actually going to be done with your tripod head. It's going to be the panning base of your tripod head. So if you want nice, smooth, fluid pan motions as well, you're gonna wanna make sure you have a tripod head that can not only handle the weight, but also is preferably a video fluid head that'll give you some nice motion. So keep that in mind. You're basically building from the ground up. Like anything, you need a good foundation. So let's go ahead and let's start putting the jib together and get it mounted up on here. Okay guys, so the first step here is I'm gonna wanna get my appropriate tripod plate attached to the body of the jib here and get it mounted up on top of my tripod. So I have the body of the jib right here. I have the appropriate tripod plate right here. And I have my trusty Leatherman tool right here. Never leave home without one of these, and don't try and carry it on the plane. Put it in your suitcase. Trust me, you'll lose it real quick. But I'm gonna go ahead, and what I wanna do first here is I'm actually going to, just to make it a little easier, I'm gonna scissor out the jib. And as you can see right here on the bottom, they have multiple mounting options. We have 2 1/4-20s right here, and we also have a 3/8. I actually have both options on my tripod plate here. So just for added security, I'm gonna go ahead and attach both. So I'll get a 1/4-20 in there and 3/8 in there. And I'm gonna go ahead and get them finger tight, and then I'm going to come in here with my tool and torque those down. Now let's go ahead and get this up on top of the tripod. Okay guys, now I'm going to get this mounted on my tripod head here. First thing I want to do is I'm going to make sure that my tripod head is level and nice and tight and locked off. I'm also going to make sure that it's pretty level in all the other axes, and also that they're all locked off. This is just because I don't want it moving around on me when I get it set up. So let me get the jib body here. So here we go. We have the body of the jib right here. We have the 2 carbon fiber arms. We have the tripod base plate that I just put on there. And we also have, this is the camera platform where we'll be attaching the camera later. Now, I like to do this just to make it easier, but they have these brakes. They actually have multiple of them, and they're on both sides. So there's 8 knobs in total. And what these will do is just put everything into a lockdown. So right now it's not moving. Oh, unlike that truck that's moving very quickly apparently. And now everything's locked down, so I can go ahead and I'm gonna slide this onto my plate. And I'm gonna tighten her down. And now since these brakes are locked, there's not much weight on it, so it should be able to just hold itself right like that in position for us to continue getting it together. So let's go ahead and get the extension for the weight bar, and let's go ahead and get that on there next. So attaching the weight bar to the back end of this is actually pretty simple. Here we have the weight bar, and there is a tube with a collar on it that it slides into right here. It's got a little plastic collar, and all you're gonna do is go ahead and just insert that a bit so that it's inside. And then here we have the aluminum locking collar, and you're just gonna slide that forward, engage the threads, and start spinning it on. Now, there are a lot of threads on this, so this will be a slightly time-consuming part, but it's really not too bad. And you just spin it on, and go ahead and get it finger tight to secure that on there. Now, these locking collars seem to be a pretty high quality. They are aluminum, nice anodized green, and they do have these rubberized grips on them, but the grips don't appear to be glued down or anything, so they do spin and swivel a little bit, and you kind of might think you're still turning it. So I just get it finger tight using the metal part right there. And there we go. Now we have our weight bar installed. So here we are at the other end of the jib here, and we're gonna go ahead and extend it out. Now, as I saw at the other end, or you saw at the other end, we have these aluminum locking collars, and there's 4 of them that divide this up into sections. And what this allows you to do is telescope the jib out. So there's one section that goes right there. We'll go ahead and righty-tighty, lefty-loosey to lock this guy down. And I'm gonna lock this bottom guy down right here. And now we have our section out here that we can extend even further. Let me just, there we go. So it'll extend all the way out. And this is where they get their length measurement from. Now the entire length of the jib from front to back is 6.5 feet. Now, I want you to keep in mind that the further out you extend this, the shakier and more unstable it's going to become. So a good idea is actually to pull it out all the way and then actually bring it back a little bit. You're not going to lose that much range in terms of camera movement, but it'll make it much more stable. So the further out you go and having it fully extended, it is going to make your shots harder to control. And also the further out you put the weight on this end with the camera, you're gonna have to add more weight to the back. So everything becomes a bit heavier and a bit more cumbersome. So throttling it back just a little bit, you sacrifice maybe 6 inches. It's really not gonna make a big difference in your footage, but it's gonna make it a lot more solid. So next thing I wanna do is I'm gonna go ahead and get our camera plate mounted up onto this top platform here. So let's go ahead and grab that. So here we go, guys. We're up at the end with the camera platform here, and there is a 1/4-20 mounting point in the top of this platform here. And I have the quick release plate that came with the jib that I'm going to use for the A7S today mounted on there. Now, it comes with a small 1/4-20 screw already in it that you can use to just directly mount a camera to it if you want to just hard mount it to it. So it's just a little screw like any other you've ever seen, but I'm not going to use this. We're going to just go ahead and toss that somewhere where I can find it. Oh, almost made it. So here is the quick release plate. It has a simple tensioning knob on the side. You release the knob and the plate kind of comes loose. It's sort of like an Arca Swiss style plate. I'm not sure if it is Arca Swiss compatible, but it looks like them to me. So here is our section right here, and this is the noisiest review ever. But here's what we'll attach to our camera. Here's what I'm gonna attach to the jib right now. Now, it does have an embedded screw here that is a 1/4-20 with a hex bolt in it there, and they do provide an Allen key for you to go ahead and attach that. So I'm just gonna line this guy up and get it going and give it a little boom. There we go. So now we should be ready to mount the camera in just a moment. So before we go ahead and get the camera mounted at the other end down there, I'm gonna go ahead and add one of those 1 kilogram counterbalance weights over here. The reason is that right now, this end of the jib is much shorter than the end that I've extended. So the weight is a little bit more on that side. Now jibs work by having everything perfectly balanced. So if I add the camera to that end right now, it may suddenly be so heavy that even with the brakes on, this may come flying up and it may become a little unwieldy to handle. So I'm gonna try and balance it out a little bit. So what you do is this back section very easily screws right out. There we go. And I'm also going to take off one of these nuts. I'll leave the other guy on there right now. And I'm gonna grab one of our weights. So here's one of our 1 kilogram weights. I'm gonna slide him on there. Yep. And for right now, I'm just gonna thread on one of these nuts to hold him in place. I'm not gonna add this back on there quite yet. This will shift our final balance a tad bit, but I wanna hold off on the end because I don't wanna have to take this on and off every time that I add a weight. So right now, I think we're at a good point to go ahead and try putting that camera on. All right, guys, here we go. Time to get the camera on here. Like I said, today I have with me the Sony a7S II. I am renting and checking out this camera. I thought it would be perfect to test it out on a trip such as this, and perfect to test on a jib such as this because it's right in the weight range. Now, I do usually use much bigger cameras and lenses, so I do have a hefty lens on here. I have a Rokinon Cine DS 50mm, which is an EF mount attached with a Metabones adapter, so there is still a bit of weight on here, but I'm gonna get it put onto the jib. Important thing to note before you put your camera on your jib, make sure that your camera is at its final weight. That means whatever is gonna be in it or on it needs to be in it or on it. Media card, battery, remove the lens cap. Get it down to exactly how it's going to be operated, because every little bit is going to affect your weight balance, and you want to be able to balance properly. You don't want to get everything set up and then realize you didn't put a battery in the camera and it'll throw you off. It won't take much time to correct it, but it's just a pain. So let's go ahead and let's get this guy mounted on here. I'm going to set it on with the quick release. And there we go. And it actually looks like the camera is a little heavy at the moment. And it, even with the brakes, wants to pull this down a little bit. So what I'm actually gonna do, just so that it doesn't strip anything, I'm gonna loosen my brakes. I'm gonna loosen them at the center as well. And I'm actually gonna let this guy do what it wants and come to a rest. Now we're gonna go ahead and put some weight on the back end and start balancing this guy out. So let's do that. Okay guys, so here's where we get to that balancing part that I talked about. The way a jib works is you want to have it perfectly balanced across the center of gravity, and that way it'll be effortless to move your camera up and down, side to side. It'll literally just float in the air when it's perfectly balanced. And the way to do that is to add counterbalance weights to this end to shift that center of gravity. So I'm gonna go ahead and spin off one of these nuts, and I'm gonna grab some of my weights. So I'm going one at a time. So if I do one, I can see that the other end is still quite heavy. So I'm gonna go ahead and add our third. Now with our third, we're getting closer. And I'm gonna go ahead and spin this nut on because that's the remainder of the weights that I have. And I'm gonna go ahead and add the back cap handle here. And now we're getting close. It still is heavier at that end, but it's getting closer. So the way to deal with that is use these nuts and actually slide the weight back. The farther away from that center you get it, the more counterbalance you're actually gonna get. So I'm gonna spin this back to about there. And I'm also gonna see if I can extend my weight bar just a little bit. I don't want it to come out, so be very careful. Extend her just a bit, and we're getting much closer. And there we go. So let me go ahead and lock this guy back down. And now, as you can see, I have the jib balanced. You know you're balanced when you can let go at any point and the camera will hold its position. So now I have this particular camera system perfectly balanced, and I can move it effortlessly with a touch of my finger, and it'll stop and stay wherever I want it. Now, as I mentioned before, if you want to do more than just up and down movements like this, that's where your fluid tripod head comes in. So I'm going to go ahead and unlock the pan. Never unlock your tilt. You never want to tilt with this. This is all you're going to want to do. So I'm going to go ahead and unlock that. And now I should be able, let me reduce my friction just a little bit. Now I can go and I can freely pan and crane my camera. And then if you want to lock it off to walk away from it and have a little bit more security, again, they've got these nice brakes. Go ahead, tighten the brakes down, make sure everything is snug, lock off my pan on my tripod. And there we go, guys. That's how you get this thing set up. One thing I did want to add before I go into the details about the construction and what I think of this is some tips on operation. Now, obviously I have my camera all the way down at this end, and I mainly am probably going to be controlling from back down here. So you have the option, let me turn my brakes off here, of operating a jib, any jib, once it's balanced, from multiple positions. So you can operate from the back, being way back here, or, as I prefer to do a lot of times, I prefer to operate from somewhere more in the middle. And I just feel that this gives me a little bit more control. So if there is any wiggle in the end, I'm able to sort of handle it and control it with my front hand. Now, if you had a tripod head on there, you also have the option of operating it from the front. You could literally operate your tripod head and do some moves with it up here. So there's lots of different ways to do it. Now, obviously the screen on my camera is all the way down there, and it's not the largest screen in the world, but they have added on both sides of this center post here, there are 3/8 and 1/4-20 mounting points on both sides, which means that you could easily use a friction arm or anything else you'd like to mount a monitor here, and then you could run an HDMI cable up and plug it in there, and you could have your monitor right in front of your face right here, and you could watch your shots as you operate. So that's just a few tips on how to operate a jib, guys. Again, it depends on your shot, depends on how you like to work, but I hope those help you out. So let's go ahead and take a closer look at what I think about this thing. Okay guys, so overall I am fairly impressed with this jib. One of the main reasons is I've never owned a jib this portable before. I'm always used to having much larger jibs, and they take up the whole back of my car. They weigh, you know, almost 100 pounds, and they're a real pain in the ass to set up and lug around. This is great because I've never had a system that I can literally fit in my suitcase and take along with me. So it has it's something new for me, and I like that. I usually don't use cameras this small. I usually do use much larger cameras. So, you know, it's not common for me to need something this small and portable. But, you know, after working this week with the A7S II and with this jib and seeing how little space in my luggage all this took up, you know, as I do more traveling throughout the year, this may be something that I like to bring along with me, you know, get an A7S II and go ahead and, you know, real quick, easy setups and just get some good footage while I'm out there on the road. So the construction of everything is very nice. I do like that it's carbon fiber. It's a nice polished and shiny carbon fiber. I have a feeling this could very easily get scratched over time but you know, that's going to happen. The rig is only as good as it works, not as good as it looks. So, you know, a little weathering might happen to it. Everything else is metal. These are all aluminum, machined aluminum. The center bracket and everything is machined aluminum. These brakes are plastic knobs, so you do want to be careful with those. I do find it a little odd that they are on both sides, which means that sometimes when you spin on one side, it just spins and spins on the other, and you kind of have to hold it on. I almost prefer that it would have been one-sided, so you just crank it down. But that's nitpicky. I like the fact that they include this little quick release plate. I like the fact that they give you the bowl mount adapter option. I don't see myself ever using the bowl mounts because I just don't own a tripod that small. And considering I own fairly heavy lenses, you guys saw I'm pretty much maxed out at the other end with counterbalance weight. So if I put a tripod head on here, I don't know how I would balance this system without lugging more weight along with me, which I don't really want to do. The locking knobs here are nice. They're easy to use. It is a little tricky sometimes to remember which way is tighter, which way is looser. There are a lot of threads on them, so you have to spin them quite a bit to get them locked down. But they are nice. They're, like I said, that you know, anodized aluminum, stylish green there. They have these rubber knobs on there, but as you can see, the rubber is not glued on or anything, so it'll sort of spin freely. So you may think you're tightening something, but you're actually not. So that's something to keep in mind. Another thing to be a little bit wary of is it does have a bit of shake to it and a little bit of flex. Because it uses this 2-bar system, and they're, you know, attached at the center point, it does have a little bit of twist. So you sometimes want to look straight down it and make sure that these are perfectly aligned. So it takes a little bit of work. But from what I've seen with the footage, when operating it, it's fairly smooth, and I really do like the shots that I'm able to get with it. So I would say that if you guys are in the market for a small travel jib, the IMORDEN 6.5-foot jib is definitely something worth going ahead and checking out. It's not too expensive. It's available on Amazon, and you can go ahead, pick it up, and see what you think of it for yourself. So let's go ahead and let's take this guy out now to a few places around here in World's Fair Park. I know it's not the most beautiful day, but I want to show you guys some test footage with the IMORDEN jib and the A7S II. So let's finish up the review with some test footage, and I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope it was helpful.